The V90 Cross Country is full of interesting little tweaks that make living with it a little bit easier. Take for instance the windshield wipers, which feature little nozzles in the wipers so that when you trigger the washer, the fluid is applied evenly on the windshield without wasting a drop. It also means you can't use the overspray to spray some pedestrian next to you like a jerk. It may seem a little OCD or over-engineered, but that's what makes a Volvo. And the V90 Cross Country is full of little quirks just like that. Everything about this vehicle is inoffensive but enjoyable, kind of like daytime television. It won't raise your pulse, but it will leave you satisfied. Now, most daytime soap operas feature a love plot with evil twins, and the V90 Cross Country isn't too far apart from that. You see, this is a raised version of the V90, which is a wagon version of the S90 sedan, which in turn is based on the XC90 crossover. Basically, this is a car for people who want the practicality of a wagon with some additional ground clearance, but they don't want to go into that full crossover lifestyle, you know, with kids. I guess we can just agree that this is a very niche luxury vehicle. But you know what? I still see a lot of those older V70 cross countries and XC70s still on the road, so maybe Volvo knows what it's doing when it comes to niche vehicles. And speaking of body style, it's a pretty good looking wagon. This vehicle has a bunch of body cladding all over the vehicle by the wheel arches and the front bumper that help you see that this has an increased ride height over the regular V90. The ride height is actually increased by 2.3 inches, which gives it a ground clearance of 8.3 inches. That means that this car actually has better ground clearance than some utility vehicles like the Ford Explorer or BMW X5. So it should be kind of capable off-road. In fact, there's a dedicated off-road mode in this vehicle, and when you turn this on, the car sends more torque to the rear wheels, but can also transfer power between the front and rear axles to add traction. So naturally, this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, and there's only one powertrain for it. It features all-wheel drive, an 8-speed automatic transmission, and a twin-charged 4-cylinder engine. You've probably already heard a lot about this engine. It's called the T6 motor, and it uses both a supercharger and a turbocharger to deliver 316 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It's supposed to use that supercharger to negate the usual turbo lag that's associated with turbocharged engines. And as a whole, this car feels really powerful, but doesn't really feel as responsive as a naturally aspirated engine. And in case you were wondering, the fuel economy is rated at 22 miles per gallon city and 30 miles per gallon highway, which leads to a 25 miles per gallon combined rating. But back to that off-road setting. It limits the vehicle to 25 miles per hour or 40 kilometers an hour, which is a little unfortunate, but it also enables hill descent control, which is pretty helpful in hilly terrain. Now, driving this big wagon in tight trails is a bit of a handful, but the car has some really light steering thanks to this drive mode. I wouldn't say this vehicle is as capable as, say, a Jeep Wrangler or FJ Cruiser, but I would say that this car is going to be fantastic in the snow, sand, or even muddy conditions. And naturally, once you get on road, the car is plenty capable there as well. There are 3 additional drive modes. There's Eco Mode, which is designed to help you stretch the tank for the most amount of mileage, and there's also Dynamic Mode, which is designed to help the car feel a little bit more sporty and aggressive. And in case you were wondering, the car can hit highway speeds in just over 6 seconds. Now, between those modes is the Comfort Mode, which is nice and easy to drive, and it's great for everyday commuting. There's also an individual setting which allows you to personalize a bunch of the traits of the car in order to suit your personality and your driving style. I absolutely love that kind of customizability in a vehicle, and I think the Volvo gets huge points for the amount of customizability it offers in this car. I should also bring up Volvo's really cool driver assistance and safety features. For example, this car comes with a forward collision warning system that can see pedestrians and bicyclists, and it works at both high and low speeds. There's also a great adaptive cruise control system that can bring the car to a stop in a very smooth way. And finally, there's this lane keep assistance technology that really locks the car into its lane instead of making you bounce from lane marker to lane marker. And quite frankly, when it comes to safety, that's kind of Volvo's thing. You see, while it has a Polestar performance brand, it has less to do with the vehicle than, say, Mercedes AMG division or BMW's M division. So it has to rely on its safety innovations in order to appeal to buyers. We're talking about a brand that introduced the world to the 3-point seat belt, the rear-facing child seat, side impact airbags, curtain airbags, and the blind spot monitoring system, which this vehicle also has. So, if all you care about when it comes to a new vehicle is safety, I think your search should start and end with a new Volvo. Other than safety features, the car has a park assist system and a whole array of cameras to help you place this big car in tough spots. I also love the vehicle's ability to read road signs, which does nag you to slow down to the speed limit, but it can also point out red light cameras and school zones as well. The whole digital dash is also customizable and very easy to read. It's hard to get tired with that kind of tinkering. Finally, while talking about the technology in this car, I have to give major props to the standard Bowers and Wilkins sound system, which simply put is one of the best sound systems I've heard of in any car. It features a 12-channel amplifier, 1400 watt output, and 19 separate speakers. There's also a cool setting to give the car a really cool sound environment, like you're in a studio or even the famous Gothenburg concert hall. In addition to all that really cool technology, the V90 Cross Country has a fantastic interior. Although I will admit I'm not a huge fan of this dash, which features some ugly plastics. I do love these seats though. They have a ton of bolstering and are extremely comfortable. Although some passengers have told me that they find that these leg extenders can be a little invasive. But let's jump in the rear seats where you won't have that kind of problem. There is so much space back here, and there's a ton of head and leg room, especially for someone as tall as I am. I'm about 6 feet tall. Now this car also features a ton of cargo space, almost 54 cubic feet, so naturally it has a power lift gate. And owners of this vehicle will love the fact that they can put all of their groceries in here using these really cool bag hooks and a grocery divider. There's also an automatic storage cover, which goes up and down every time you open and close the liftgate. Like I said, the V90 Cross Country is full of awesome features and seems plenty capable for the majority of luxury car buyers out there, but it has one issue: price. It costs over $55,000 to start, which is a good chunk of change more expensive than the XC90. Sure, it comes with more features and a more powerful engine, but the V90 Cross Country seems to be narrowing its audience with such a high price point. So the V90 Cross Country packs all these safety and driver assistance features in one gorgeous wagon body style. Sure, it may be expensive, but people will look at you a little bit differently than somebody who owns a big Mercedes or BMW. It just has a completely different persona than those big vehicles. And for some buyers, that may be worth the big price tag.